Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 8 Plus One, the classroom. My name is Charles Nzali. Uh, Today I have a guest, like any other day. My guest today is a social media strategist, data analyst. I have Gwen Gillette with me today. Gwen, welcome to 8 Plus One, the classroom.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's a blessing to have you here today. We're gonna I'm gonna try to get to know a little bit of you and also try to understand your journey. How did you get to this?
Yeah,
So I'm thank you for being here today.
yeah, I'm excited to share some of my journey with you guys.
It's no problem at all. No problem. We're in for all of that. First of all, let's start from the beginning, right? Because my belief is that your everybody's upbringing had played a role in the individual that you end up becoming, right?
Mhm.
Let's start from a young Gwen, right? How was uh, that for you growing up?
Yeah, so it's interesting because when I was younger, I feel like I was really creative and I loved doing creative things. And
Hmm.
then um, that's kind of taught out of you, like through regular schooling, through life, through society. Um, and so I kind of had to find my way back to being creative. And as I grew up, so my parents got divorced when I was really young. Um, I didn't really see my dad for quite some time. So he's in my life now, but he wasn't as I grew up.
Hmm.
So it's just me and my mom. Um, we were very supportive of each other. Um, so I had that, and that was wonderful. I grew up as an only child. I technically have a half sister. And again, we're close now, but weren't close then. So my family was just two people, pretty small. And then as I grew up, I would say I had a really hard time fitting in high school.
Hmm.
Um, People were not that nice, and so I opted into not going. So school, as from a grade perspective, was always pretty easy for me. It was like the strategy of taking a test,
Hmm.
right? How did this person design the test? What was the goal? So you take it, the grades are fine, but then I was like, I don't need to show up for the rest.
Hmm.
Um, and so then I kind of became more social as I went to school, like college. And then through that journey, ended up deciding that I really did like people and interacting with people. And they had all these dreams that I think are amazing and give life purpose. And I
Hmm.
really wanted to be a part of that. And so that's how I kind of ended up moving from being an antisocial child to somebody that is much more social and outgoing as an adult.
Hmm.
Um, and so it kind of came full circle, right? You get all these things that you unlearn, and then you find your way back to yourself
Hmm.
and who you want to be. And so that's how I landed in doing social media strategy because it helps. I get to be a part of making other people's dreams come true.
Hmm.
And so I like there's nothing better than those moments where somebody is so excited because they finally hit that marker that's going to help their business or their podcast or whatever it is that they want to grow.
Hmm.
And so it's really purpose driven for me, what I do now. And I think that's really important because I got, through everything that I went through growing up, I got really like kind of disenfranchised with
Hmm.
society as a whole, corporate living, things like that. I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. It's really far from where our souls are as humans.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, that's how I kind of found my way back to what I'm doing now.
Okay. I I picked up a lot from what you said, right? And I'm already loving this because this is what exactly I was looking forward to. So it's gonna be a really easy interview for me. But let's still stay on young Gwen, right?
Okay.
Why wasn't school your thing? Is it because it was easier for you and so usually people who are really smart people get bored easily in school. It could be that. It could be you were finding it hard to adjust because you said socially you were struggling with people.
Mhm.
What exactly was it that kept you away from school?
Yeah, so I think it was a lot of things, like a combination of all these interminglings of things, but I
Mhm,
think that um one, it was that school was very boring to me.
mhm,
Um I could do my work fast. I think the whole concept of homework I understand, where it's like if you don't get something and you keep doing it, then you start to have that understanding.
mhm,
But for me, I didn't really need that. And so I hated homework. And tests were really easy. And so I think there was that I was bored aspect.
mhm,
But then I think around, it was like eighth grade going into freshman year, I had had like a pretty unpleasant experience. Um, like I went through, I was sexually assaulted by um, three guys that were already in high school. And so when I went into high school, I would say I had bullying around the stories that they had told people.
mhm,
And I didn't know how to tell anybody what had happened,
mhm,
or find my voice. And so there was a lot of stuff that I just avoided, and I didn't want to go to school and deal with any of that.
mhm,
I don't think I even told a single person that it happened until I was about 19.
mhm,
And so it was really just my way. Like, sure, it was boring, but it was also just like I didn't know how to cope with everything that had happened.
mhm.
And so I spent a lot of time. I did some really crazy, wild stuff. I actually got arrested at 16 on on accident, obviously, but I was driving and I was in a car accident and I had had alcohol in my car, and so then they thought that I was driving drunk. I wasn't, but it was like 6 months later that the blood results came back because the court system is
Mhm.
slow. So there was a lot of stuff going on that just led to, and after I got arrested, I was on house arrest. So I did at home school. And then, so it just kind of all compounded into I don't want to go to school. I don't want to interact with anybody, because I didn't know how to communicate anything that was going on. And I had a ton of really big emotions, a lot of like self loathing and things like that. And so I actually ended up like I took a couple tests and I graduated high school early my
Mhm.
junior year. And I went into like an inpatient program for mental health where they did like equine therapy.
Mhm.
And so you get your own horse and you like train this horse and you bond with it, because horses can sense you on the inside, right? So
Mhm.
it's kind of about you regulate yourself on the inside, which then you can see your horse
Yeah,
regulate.
yeah. Mhm.
And so that's when I really started to feel better and to feel like I could. And of course, that came with tons of ups and downs over the next 10 years. So
Mhm.
it wasn't like a full fix, but it did help a lot, and helped me release a lot of that stuff. And so that's kind of where, as far as my upbringing, it always felt like a struggle. Like,
Mhm.
my mom would always say, like, because this started kind of when I was 13, and so my mom was like, I'm just trying to get her to 15.
Mhm.
And then I was like, let's just get her to 16, let's get her to 18. And so my life was always these like, just at least live this long.
Yeah.
um and so it was a lot of, there was a lack of purpose, I think, when you're just trying to hit that metric of like, okay, I'm just alive. um which is ironic because now I spend a lot of time just being grateful that I am
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a mindset shift in there.
Mhm. That you see, is that is a lot to deal with as a young person. That is really a lot to deal with. How has that impacted you as an adult?
Lots of I would say like emotional regulation issues.
Mhm.
I have a lot of, I think, to not to be so negative, it has given me a lot of strengths as far as like I'm very empathetic towards others.
Mhm.
And I have a good sense of kind of like what they're feeling and things like that and how they might perceive certain things. And so that awareness transfers into a lot of what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I think adds to a lot of my strengths. But as far as the struggles, it's hard for me to trust people. It takes me a long time. I'm still working on that one. Um, and it's just like I have a lot of big emotions. And so things I think feel really heavy, even small things. And so I still work on that. Like I have a somatic experiencing therapist that I still work on how to release a lot of the stuff that is still in there and unprocessed. Um, and so I'm trying to think I've had a lot of anger that I've had to let go and release. And I think that's come out towards the wrong people a lot of the times. And so that can ruin relationships. And so then there's a grief and loss that comes with that. And so it can be this like never ending spiral. Yeah. But again, it's a journey. And so I just keep working at it. I think, even through doing this entrepreneurial journey, it's given me like a lot of resilience. And I found that purpose, like that reason, because I always, I think, had a question in the back of my mind, probably until like 2 years ago, that I was just like, why? Like, I don't get life. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't do it well. I don't fit in. I don't understand it. Like, how do these people do all of these things? Like, they wake up and they just keep going. And it's like, but I think I found that it's like all of us are resilient as people, and we all keep going, and we all have that one reason, and we're all just trying to succeed. And so that has helped me continue forward and find like happiness amongst stuff that still needs to be processed. Because when you kind of go through that, your nervous system gets really dysregulated. And so then you kind of learn to live in this dysfunction. And so for a long time, it felt like I was seeking out that dysfunction almost, because that's where I was comfortable. Like normal life felt boring. And so I'm kind of learning to like the normal, to like the boring pieces of life, and just appreciate, being outside and breathing air and sunlight and things like that. But there are days where it is dark.
Yeah. There's something that you said, right? You said it allowed you to have, going through what you went through allowed you to have empathy for other people, and also feel other people, right? Do you have to go through dark times and 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 human battles in life, right, to really feel the empathy for other people?
I don't know if you have to. I think there are people who've gone through hard times that aren't there yet. They still have anger, and so maybe they're not as empathetic. And I think there are people who are just really, really aware, and so they're really empathetic. I think that for me, just the way I was raised, like I was raised as an only child in an upper middle class family, and so I never wanted for anything, like the newest cool shoes or the best purse or whatever it was. Like I had that. And so I honestly, when I look back on it, I think that it was a blessing that I went through what I went through, because otherwise I think that I would have been maybe a little stuck up, or entitled, or those types of things. And so to me, I tie it heavily with my empathy, because I'm like, okay, everybody has something, even if it's not, a sexual assault, something like you wouldn't trade your problems for somebody else's problems. And so I just think it allowed, like it really opened my heart. Like it feels like my heart's closed off, but it is open to the broader concept of people and their struggle. And it also like I observed a lot, because I was so antisocial. So I just took in information and I watched people, not in like a weird way, just in like in networking events, I'm more quiet, right? Things like that. And so then it just allowed me to realize that like everybody has got something. And I think too, because of that, I had a particular energy. And so a lot of times when I would meet people, they would end up telling me things that they had been through. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not like necessarily that I asked,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it was just like you can kind of see it in somebody's eyes, and they just like, and so they open up. And so then I started to realize that like everybody's got something that
Mm-hmm.
they need, maybe not need, but want to share, that they're carrying, that's heavy for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Doing podcasting did that for me because what it is they felt safe around you, right?
Yeah.
And they felt they can share. You see what I'm saying? And when people feel safe, they feel they can be vulnerable with this person, and they will be okay.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Podcasting is, as I often say, has allowed me to understand that everyone is on a journey. We are all on a journey to something, a journey to healing, a journey to find fulfillment in self, and not from the purses, the bags, the shoes.
Yeah.
That does not fulfill who we are. You know what I mean? So the more I talk to different people, the more I sit here and listen to different people say different things and project different energies on what they've been through, what it take, how long it took to heal. Did they heal? Are they healing? You know what I mean? It had allowed me to know that we're all on some type of journey. Every single one of us.
Yeah.
Different stages, different direction. But we're all moving, we're all searching for something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful to watch. Did you find healing in all of this?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was, all of it was like, I think when you're in it, you can't see it as well. But looking back, it definitely all was leading to a place where I was supposed to be. I'm a big believer in your path makes a way for you. And so my sister actually told me that when I was in college, and she was like, you just gotta try, because like your path will make a way for you. And so I really stick to that. And it's like, maybe it doesn't make sense to me now, but it will later. And so like the data analytics stuff didn't make sense. And then now I've made it make sense with social media. So,
okay. So if you sit across the table, right, to the guys that violated you when you were in high school, right, in school, what would you tell them?
That's a hard question. I don't think anybody has ever asked me that. I don't know. I think it would have been different depending on when I was, because I would have originally been angry. But now I feel like it just contributes to so many of my strengths and so much of my understanding. And so I might just say that I forgive them. And that's like, it's not okay what they did, but it ended up okay, and that I hope that it changed them for the better as much as it changed me. Because I think that when someone does something wrong to you, you have the opportunity to respond in a way that can help them change. And I think a lot of times when you respond with anger and hate, it just gives them another emotion that they have to repress or cope with, instead of doing something so unexpected. And that they're like, they kind of take a second look at themselves or their life or what it is. I think that that's a beautiful thing. And I actually saw it. It's funny. I saw it recently in a show where Ted Lasso is the show. I don't know if, I know a lot of people watch it, but where it's kind of about this coach, and he's coaching his team, and the owner of the team had like wronged him. And so she has to go tell him. And so you're kind of waiting for that point in the show where there's going to be this huge like explosion and everything goes wrong. And then, but it was just like a split second, and he was just like, I forgive you. And then it like went back to being this wonderful, happy show because he lifted this weight. And I don't think it's necessarily like that, but it's also like stories where like Martin Luther King, like someone had
Yeah.
stabbed him.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like saying don't move, and so that they could remove the knives because it hadn't penetrated anything.
Mm-hmm.
And in that process he said, I forgive you. Like
Mm-hmm.
he looked at the person who had literally just stabbed him and said, I forgive you. And so I think that is what I would say now. Now again, 3 or 4 years ago, I might have thrown a chair, a desk, some baseball. Brett's brought some baseball bats, but the anger was doing a lot more hurt to me than anything else. Like I was just so angry, and when I wasn't angry, I was sad, because I would take that anger and I would turn it towards myself because there was nothing else I could do with it. And then I just got tired of feeling that way. It was so destructive.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But the beautiful thing is this, right? When people do wrong to you, right? A lot of times it seems like it's you, right? But for the most part, it's them. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? Not to make excuse for them, right? You gotta be carrying so much hate in yourself in the first place, right? To be willing to do somebody wrong and live with that wrong for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Because until they are able to come and sit across from you and say, "Hey, Gwen, I'm sorry," right? It's human. This is the human conscience. You and I know how powerful this human conscience is.
Yeah.
It will chew you alive.
Yeah.
It will break you down day by day. Every time your mind goes to that, you are in trouble. Because it will remind you of the wrong you did.
Yeah.
So they already have that burden is on them. That is your revenge. It's right there. Their own mind. You could try to convince yourself all you want. I was not wrong. But deep down in your heart, when you're wrong, you know it. You cannot fool your soul. You could put on a facade and put on this big macho energy, but deep down when you're wrong, something just keeps telling you, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So that is for them to carry with them all their life unless they are able to come forward and say, hey, I was wrong.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that is their fight to fight in this. They do have a battle to fight in this.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's a heavy battle. It's a real battle. When you go to sleep at night and your conscience start wandering and it gets to that, oh man, I wronged her. You might lose sleep.
Yeah.
You are at a place where you're not losing sleep about this anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes I try to look at things from that light.
Yeah.
And say something else is gonna fight my battle, and that's not gonna be me because I'm moving from that into something else.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's their price to pay.
Yeah.
We wish them well.
And I'm like a big believer too in, I don't know, maybe you want to call it karma, but like the things come back. Like anytime I've done something that I knew I shouldn't have done, right? It shows up later and I'm like, okay, there it is, you know? And so I think that's really at the core of it. Like they'll live with it, and that's their journey, just like going through it was mine.
Yeah.
And two, I worked at a place called Brain Balance for a little while. And so, because after getting out of a residential treatment center, I wanted to work at a residential treatment center. And it was just very eye-opening to work with other kids that had really gone through trauma from the perspective of being an adult now, and then still being so young, and just seeing like the mistakes they made and the things they would do. And I think that helped put it in perspective. It's not to say that like I have no idea if these guys have done other wrong in their life or what they're even doing with their life now. But I've seen really good kids make some really bad mistakes, um, just because they have a twisted perspective,
Yeah.
right? And then you kind of
Yeah.
meet their parents and their family, and you're like, okay, this kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that provided a lot of like understanding of like everybody kind of gets to where they are because they went through something else too. Um, and so I think that's a lot of what the younger generation now talks about, which is like healing that generational trauma.
Yeah.
Because you go through it, it puts somebody else through it, and then it's
you pass it on.
Yeah.
You pass it on.
And so it's about what's the best way that we can break the cycle instead of keep contributing to it.
Yeah. There's always a silver lining.
Mhm.
You know, there's always a side. The opposite side is always brighter. If we can just take all the pain from what we dealt with and just turn that into the fuel, the fire. I grew up in a house, right, where there was a lot of prostitution, right? Imagine keystones, right, get divided into cubicles, right? It's already one big roof, and brick walls are built within the house, but up to a certain height. So whatever communication is going on in the other house, in the other room, is built into that, but it's one big roof up top. Whatever is going on there, you can hear on the side. And imagine being a 12-year-old trying to do your homework, and you hear people having a sexual transaction on the other side, right?
Yeah.
And you can hear them talking about, you fucked me enough, take, this is enough, this is what you paid for. And the man might be trying to do more, and it turns into a whole fight and argument, right? At 12.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
at that time, I never really knew if that was ever going to do anything to me, right? But as I grow older, I find myself very conflicted and very confused about just a lot of things, about people, about just women, right? And you just deal with that, right? But my biggest fear in life ever, right, is to not work hard enough, to have to live in a house, or to have my child live in a house where that could be going on and I can't control it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my biggest fear in my life. I don't want my siblings to ever see that. I don't want my child to see that. I'm getting emotional. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that is what motivates me. That's why I work hard, even when I'm tired. I can't stop. I had to go to work.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot of times. That's the motivation behind everything I try to do.
Yeah.
Just so one day, it's never a day that's gonna ever come in life where I am put in a position where I have to deal with something like that again, or my child is living in that, because I can't afford a place to stay, and my child ends up staying in something like that. Not that my father couldn't afford a place to stay, but it was a family house, and everybody has rights in that family. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes we take our pain in and let us break us, or we can just use that same pain and turn it into the fuel that we need to light our candles and be the light that the world needs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the happy stuff. let's talk about the happy stuff, because man, life is beautiful.
Yeah.
Life is beautiful. Our souls as human being, a human soul can never be broken. It can be bruised, but it will never get broken.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read I don't know if you ever heard of Gary Zukav.
Oh no. What's the book title?
It's a book called The Seed of the Soul.
Okay.
Read it. Check it out.
Okay. I will.
Check it out. It's talking about exactly what we are talking about here.
I think I've had someone recommend that to me.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll read it.
The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukav.
Yeah.
I have a copy. I can let you borrow my copy.
Okay.
Yeah. It has a lot of underlining and writing and yeah, but
That's the best part.
yeah. I'll definitely will let you read my copy.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too because as you know, as a kid, I feel like when you're going through trauma, you can feel like it doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
And you can feel so indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you start to get older, you're like, it's there, like it's right behind there. Yeah. And that's when I think you can make the choice to make it mean something or to let it kind of derail and destroy your life.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it was interesting because it's like you go through so many things and you're like, oh, it's fine, it doesn't matter. And then later on, your body, like there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. Like your body does 80% of your nervous system processing. And so it's there. Like it took it in, it's living in your body. It may not be in your mind, but it's living in your body somewhere. Yeah. And yeah, so I think that it's important to look at it as it's beautiful and look at your soul like it is this beautiful creation of all these different colors. Yeah. And some of those may be black or darker shades of blue, but you know, they're a part of the bigger picture.
Yeah, they're part of the story.
Yeah.
You want to see how resilient a human being is, right? Look at a child. Mm-hmm. When a child is learning to sit, right, they try to sit and they fall. Some of the falls are heavy. Yeah. They fall sometimes. They hit their head on something, right? And guess what? They still try to sit again. Eventually, they start holding on to things and learning how to stand. They hold on to things and let go and then fall back on their butt and then get back up and try again. When they learn how to walk, it's the same process. Yeah. But life and society keeps chipping away that resilience. Yeah. Chipping away that resilience, beating them up. Day-to-day dealings of life. Mm-hmm. A job. You know what I mean? Yeah. A job. Adulting. Just these experiences keep chipping that resilience up to the point where it gets to a point where we are, as human beings, we're just tired. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. But even through all of that physical experience, our souls might be bruised, but it's never broken. So there's always a chance of a second life. Yeah. And sometimes it comes as a result of somebody just lighting shining a little bit of light on you. Mm-hmm. And your soul can absorb that light. Like earlier you said, the therapy with the horses, right? Because the horses can see right through the physical being, right? Mm-hmm. So that light, you're looking at a horse and you're like, this is not even a human being, but this is a being. This is just more than flesh and blood and body. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you are literally healing yourself so I can have this connection with this beautiful creature called a horse. Yeah. Because without you healing, this animal is not going to come close to you. Yeah. So this is real. This is like stuff that happen to people in real life. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So I love this. I do. I love this. I really do love this. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Now let's talk career, right? Okay. So you finish high school, you go through all of these. You go to college. You have a master's degree in data analysis and data bio
Bioinformatics, yeah.
bioinformatics and all the big fancy things, right? And you leave all of that to become a social media strategist, right?
hmm
Make it make sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the short answer is that I had spent too much of my life being unhappy.
Mhm,
Um, and just doing data analysis
mhm,
wasn't making me happy.
mhm,
Um, and so my life has always been kind of chaotic. So I wasn't very like risk adverse when it came to like, I'm just going to try something new. Because my life has never really been a linear path.
mhm,
So making the jump was easy. As far as like the logical way that it makes sense is um, when I was doing data analysis, I was doing it for manufacturing.
mhm,
And so manufacturing companies work on like supply chain and logistics, right? And they have
mhm,
vendors. And all of that is determined by consumer behavior,
mhm,
right? Like, what are they buying? How much are they buying? When are they going to buy it? And open source consumer data is social media.
mhm,
So I was analyzing a ton of social media data to make these supply chain predictions about
mhm,
like how much, you know, different pieces do you need to order from your vendor to make X amount of product because you're going to sell this amount based on the predictions.
mhm,
Um, and so a lot of that was like by myself on a computer. And so I didn't like that I wasn't getting any human interaction, right? I had spent
mhm,
enough of my life closed off and alone.
mhm,
And so that just didn't fit for me. And so I was like, but I am, I would say, as far as like from a how my brain works perspective, I'm really good at pattern recognition.
mhm,
That's how I took tests so well as a kid, and
mhm,
that's how I build algorithms so well is because it's like how can we pick up patterns and how are we going to group things together?
mhm,
And so I started just noticing through analyzing all the social media data that there was patterns that could be picked up on there.
mhm,
Um, and it's not what time you post or what hashtags you use, but an actual strategy that can help you get to your target audience.
mhm,
And so I was like, I want to do this. I want to help other people do this. And so we were had our own company in manufacturing that was already struggling to like make the sales. And so it's like, how can you bring marketing to that?
mhm,
Um, and so I just decided I was like, I'm not really going to develop anymore. I'm going to move over and do this because I think I can crush it.
mhm,
And so I did that for my business partner. We did 30 days of posting content,
mhm,
and he got 80,000 followers in those 30 days. And we had been posting content consistently for 2 years, stuck at 200 views every single video. So we had the consistency down. We had the all the things that they say you're supposed to do. We were already doing those,
mhm,
and I was like, this is not it. And so then I took over, and then we had and those 80,000 followers is like, sure, it's cool, but it got us, we were featured in 2 news articles that
mhm,
we wrote about mental health, because that's what his company was around,
mhm,
narcissistic trauma specifically.
mhm,
And then he also has a book offer. So he's working on the book offer now. So as far as his like credibility and proof in the space, that has skyrocketed from social media.
mhm,
And we shot it all in my apartment.
mhm,
And so it doesn't have to be this big barrier. I look at it as a way to like access, right? You can now access this global economy of people.
mhm,
And so there is not as many barriers that I would say, like, if you were as a company, you're like, I'm going to go try and get an investor. There's a
mhm,
lot more barriers in place.
mhm,
But if you go to an investor, it doesn't matter who you are, and you're like, hey, I have 300,000 followers and I want to build an app,
mhm.
to them that's like instant
Yeah.
validation that you
Mhm,
can do what you say you're going to do.
mhm,
And so that's how I really got into it. I was like, I can do this, I can do it well. After growing Cody's channel, I did a few more to make sure it wasn't a fluke.
mhm,
Same success rate. um, and so then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm all in. I love creating videos, I love making people laugh. I didn't know I was funny until I started creating content. Like, I don't know if you can tell when you interact with me,
yeah.
but like when I
Yeah.
make the content, like it does really well.
Mhm,
Um, and so that's helped. That I think that your soul, everyone's soul is naturally creative. Um, and you just end up not being creative because you feel embarrassment or shame or it's not perfect. And so that's really become my outlet. Like I can use the data analytics. I can use my passion for helping people and their purpose. And then I can also be creative at the same time. And so that's kind of how I landed here, and I love it. Like I really, really love it. Like I still, even though I had done a lot of healing, I still really struggled when I was doing data analysis. I was like, how do people get up every day and do the same thing? Or just get up every day and live. Like I was just always tired, and I don't think I was doing what my soul wanted me to do. I couldn't see the grand purpose. And I remember I had an advisor at the time, and they were like, well, doing data analytics makes sense because manufacturing floors kind of work like a human brain, and you want to do neurotech in the future. And so it all makes sense and it all has a purpose. And I was just like, I don't see it. Like I could die tomorrow. And so I want every day to see that I'm pushing forward something. And so that's kind of why I like it so much, is like, it's like every day I feel like, okay, if heaven forbid something were to happen to me, I feel like I made an impact in the people's lives that I was involved in. And that's really big for me. I wasn't just like somebody behind the computer working on a project that may never be seen. So
With social media being something that is more like instant gratification, right? It does have that feel, right? Or may I say, that's the feel that we go. That's where we go to kind of get instant gratification, right?
Sure.
But the people that know how to work it like you, right, are the very few that would achieve that there. A lot of times we follow all kinds of expert. People tell you post, pick a day in a week and post that every day that day. People will tell you post 6 times in a week. People will tell you post every Friday at midnight.
Yeah.
It's all kinds of strategy that people tell you, right? What works and what does not work.
Okay. I want to answer your question, but I want to say something else first. Is that so the instant gratification piece, I always tell all of my clients is that you need it around 90 days to really see. And so a lot of what we do for our clients is like, you can approve the post, you can help with the post, you can give ideas, but like you can't spend your time sitting on your phone looking at the post and hoping the post is going to do well, because it's putting this lack mindset and this energy into. And to me, if you're using social for instant gratification, you're using it the wrong way. And so I don't think long term it'll give you what you want. And so I just wanted to say that. And then I also think that social media can be bad, and there are people that use it in detrimental ways. And so I think it's a huge thing for me as a social media manager to make sure that my values align with my clients. Like I have 5 pillars that I try to hit on when I work with people, because I want it to add to the overall good. So I'll just kind of say that to preface what I'm about to say, which is that people who do social media, right? So I don't post on social media. So if anybody looks me up, I have a few posts. I tried it a little bit, but I overall don't do it. Because when it comes to like, okay, I want to use social media to promote my social media business, then you have to make content and you have to keep creating that content, right? And so when it's something natural, like it's a business that's established, maybe it's a brewery, maybe it's around mental health, maybe it's a podcast, there's lots of content that can keep coming. They end up, it seems like, running out of things. And so they know, one thing I know as a social media manager is it's easier to get a click for something negative than something positive. So that's one piece that I really don't like about people who are not doing social media to better the good,
Mhm.
right, is that they're trying to get those negative clicks, right? Like
Mhm.
you're doing social media wrong if you're
Mhm.
not doing this, right? People will click on that because they don't want to be wrong.
Mhm.
And so it's harder to get views in the positive, but I think that it's important to work towards that. And this, and like when you think of content ideas, it's much more natural to have content ideas for a podcast or a brewery that's established or mental health versus trying to find ideas about how to post on social media, because
Mhm.
the biggest barrier to it is that you have to do it
Mhm.
and you have to do it consistently. And then I'll talk about the other strategies, but that's the biggest part, is that execution. And so how many videos can somebody make about their social media business that just say just post it
Mhm.
before it kind of gets old? And so then I
Mhm.
think these other videos surface of like, we'll use these posting times and use these hashtags, and like that just becomes things that people focus on that they don't need to focus on because it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
So a couple of things around that is that like no hashtag is going to save your post if it's not a good post.
Mhm.
So I like to break it down into 5 categories where 90% of the battle is your topic. That's number 1. That's the first category. Are you posting about a topic that people care about or that is relatable or relevant to them now? Right? So like if you had if I was posting for myself as a social media manager when Chat GPT came out, that's a trending topic.
Mhm.
Trending topic doesn't mean it's a trend. It just means that it's something that lots of people are searching right now. And so I might post a video about how you can use Chat GPT to create content. And I
Mhm.
saw some good social media managers that did that, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so that's a huge battle, is that picking that topic at the right time.
Mhm.
And for YouTube, it's a little bit different because you can still get views way delayed. So
Mhm.
you might see, if you're putting your stuff on YouTube and then a topic becomes relevant, if your video is tagged correctly, you should see those views.
Mhm.
And so that's like 90% of the battle. I think a lot of times people post about what they think their audience wants to hear,
Mhm.
but the truth is you don't know. And so I always like to see social media as a way to collect data. Like you should just be testing things out. If something gets 200 views, it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad,
Mhm.
but you're in a testing phase, right?
Mhm.
And so you're still trying to find what works.
Mhm.
And or maybe the topic didn't hit right, or your language around it, and so you can kind of try it again.
Mhm.
And so that's a big one. The um, the next thing is making sure that you have understanding watch time. So like if you see a video on a topic and you're
Mhm.
like, I love this, I want to recreate this video,
Mhm.
and that video was 20 seconds, but then you make a video that's a minute long,
Mhm.
you didn't hit the same target audience.
Mhm.
So different people watch different lengths of videos. And
Mhm.
so if you see a 20-second video and you're like, I love that, then you can recreate it, but make sure it's around 20 seconds so it hits the same audience.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that's a big thing. And then keywords. So like I always say that you should have the keyword that you're trying to rank for in your title. You should have it in the hook of your video. You should say it in the video because the algorithm transcribes your video.
Mhm.
You want to say it in your caption, and then you want to have it in the hashtag. But again, the hashtag is just 6% of whether your video does well. So if you did all that, that's 5 times that you told the algorithm what target audience to send your video to and what keyword to rank for.
Mhm.
Um, and so those are the things that matter. The other thing is around posting time is I see a lot of people, they'll look at their analytics and they'll say, well, everybody watches my video at this time, so I'm going to post at this time.
Mhm.
But that's actually, if you want to grow your account, that's not the right way to do it. You want to post outside that window so that you can be collecting new people and a
Mhm.
new audience.
Mhm.
Um, and so I say, like, in general, when you see a video that's like posted these 3 times, you could use those as guidelines to say,
Mhm.
I'm going to try this out and see what time I kind of hit the mark.
Mhm.
And I've done that for accounts before. But overall, I don't see a large effect on what time it was posted. It's mostly the topic, the length, and the keywords.
In light of all of this, right? How is your parents' reaction I'm just sitting here thinking about this again, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is your how did your parents react when you said, "Oh, I graduated with masters. I want to do so."
Yeah, so I think my I think their perspective was overall positive because both of my parents, my dad came back into my life around like 16.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I random, but I feel like most people maybe would have responded with anger, but I
Mm-hmm.
was really forgiving and I just really, because I just wanted a dad, right? And so we've had a great relationship since then as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he saw a lot of the turmoil,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of the things. He's even talked about how him leaving probably affected some of that turmoil,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, but so they both saw, I think, how much I struggled. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I made the decision, I don't think that they were surprised. It's just another thing that I would do, because I've never been very linear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my mom was definitely overly supportive. Like, she still supports me. There are times where I'm like, maybe I lost a client and I have a few in the pipeline. And so I need a little bit of help. And she supports that way. And so that has been overwhelmingly amazing. My hope is that I will be able to buy her a mansion one day, because she deserves it, and a really nice car and all of the things,
Beautiful.
because she has sacrificed a lot. Like, we were upper middle class, but like the treatment program I went to was expensive.
Mm-hmm.
My lawyers, when I got arrested, were expensive. And so it's just slowly kind of chipped away. And so I would love to be able to give that back.
Mm-hmm.
But her support never wavers. And recently, even when I was debating whether I was going to start the social media company or just kind of go back to a 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
my dad was like, don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
and I was surprised kind of to hear that from him. Because I mean, he's in higher education, but he's in the 9 to 5. My sister does the 9 to 5. And she's also in higher education, but they still are always more linear. They work all the time. And they were like, I wouldn't necessarily make that move. We don't think it fits you. And so that was really empowering, I think, to have their support when I kind of maybe in the back of my mind thought I didn't have it. And I saw them recently and they were just very encouraging. And so that really helps you keep going, when it feels like things can be working against you sometimes.
There's beauty. There's beauty in tapping into a space that actually fits your personality,
Yeah.
that actually fits who you are and is in line with your purpose, right? There's huge beauty in that. And when you do find that, people who are around you, people who know you, will tell you you finally found your niche. You finally found your
Yeah.
thing. Because I always was a kid that everybody says I talk a lot, right? So when I started this interview things, people I grew up with are like, "Oh, finally you know,
Yeah.
finally you've gotten to your thing." You know what I mean? And it's beautiful to watch. It's really beautiful to watch. The people who know you will definitely be like, "No, no, 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 don't do that.
Yeah.
Stay here and don't don't even think about it." You know what I mean? And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
And that was beautiful that your parents were your dad was like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Because your dad knows what that means to you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the right people will always tell you, not not this time.
Yeah. And that definitely meant a lot. Um, and I think a lot of people can see it too, like just people around me as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I'm definitely a much happier person since making the switch. It doesn't mean I'm not stressed, or that I don't have bad days, because I do, but I have a reason.
Yeah.
Um,
To wake up every day and look forward to.
yeah.
Yeah. What's next today? What's next tomorrow? What's the long term goal?
Yeah.
What's the short term goal? What's the ultimate goal in all of this for you? I know I asked you
I
this
was
earlier.
afraid you were going to ask me that.
Yeah.
Um, I think that I'm still working on having a long term vision, because I don't know. I don't know if it's social media forever. But I think it is some combination of helping people grow and start their business in some capacity. And so that might be um, marketing long term. That might also be something around like strategic operations. Um, I think that social media is changing. So there's lots of things that are going to be coming that I think are going to change the way that it works. We're still in a really nice sweet spot for social media. So if anybody's thinking about starting, now is the time. Um, but there is stuff happening with ChatGPT, right? And Google. And so people are using ChatGPT more than Google. Now, right now, if you Google a TikTok, you can find it and it says it was created by X creator and here's the information, right? So it adds to that creator's business. Um, but soon, the new version of ChatGPT will be connected to the internet, meaning it will scrape the information from your video, but it's not like it's going to say, this was a video created by Charles, right? It's just not going to do that. I think maybe it will. And so there will be this time where it's like creators are putting information out that they're not getting credit for. And so that's coming. There are some legal stuff going on with ChatGPT as well. So I think it will fix itself, but it's always something that I'm aware of in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, what happens when content is fully created by AI? And what does that look like? And where there'll be an edge for somebody who creates it versus uses AI, and then how does that translate to their overall business success? And so I think those things are very fast coming. Like there's a book called The Future is Faster Than You Think, about how fast things move technologically. And so I'm trying to keep up with that. And so, but I know that I want to be a huge part of helping other people achieve their dreams, and specifically people who wouldn't have access to achieve it otherwise.
Yeah. Especially with the Chat GPT thing, right? Did you hear about the song with Drake and The Weeknd that went viral and it was almost chatting,
Yeah.
right? And everyone was talking about this. The only issue was it's not actually made by Drake, no, The Weeknd. It was some Chat GPT stuff that somebody used AI and made it, you know. So and it's scary what if it's not regulated, how disruptive it could be.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think they took it down. They had to take it down. But yeah, it's interesting because I think from a technical perspective, there's also blockchain. And so if you've heard of Grime, I don't listen to her music. I'm sure it's great. But she used to date Elon Musk. So that's how I know who she is. She just recently released an NFT, which is of her voice. And so you purchase it and it's like a royalty free. Then you can use her voice to create something like that. And so I think it might start to look more like that, where you can use things like smart contracts to share. And that'll be kind of, so it'll be the intermingling of blockchain and AI that helps regulate what's happening with AI. But it definitely can be scary and it's interesting to watch. Sometimes I'm like, I can't look at it because I get so discouraged. And other times I'm like, okay, I need to look at it. So
I understand. But I think at some point, right, it's gonna also mirror human reality. You see what I'm saying? Because if it's this thing that is just way, way advanced than the human reality is, right? How do we as humans survive in it, right? Because why go pay a lawyer thousands of dollars when I could go to Chat GPT to write this contract for me, right?
Yeah.
Well, why would I pay a lawyer to defend my case in court when I can just go to Chat GPT and would tell me all the citations and all the the all the litigations and citations, right? That I can come up with, right? It tells me every defense that is available for me in the world, right?
Yeah.
I don't need a lawyer for that. Chat GPT is gonna do that for me. The people who used to write, the people who write music, the writers of music, writers in general, book writers, film writers, right? You go to Chat GPT, tell them an idea. Chat GPT writes a full script for you.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that mirror human existence, right? Would ChatGPT be able to tap into the human emotions?
Mm-hmm.
Is ChatGPT able to describe depression in a human way?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So at some point, I think they will have to make it mirror human reality
Yeah.
in order for us to be involved in it. Because I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too because the reason that I think they haven't done that yet is that because there's a like Lex Friedman is a really well-known machine learning and AI developer. And I think it was what's those little vacuums that, is it a Roomba?
Yeah.
That I think he programmed that to like have emotion. So if you pick it up, it would like, I think it was that. It might have been a different device, but you pick it up and it would like whine or cry or whatever. And so I think when you start to make AI simulate things like that, then you don't have the ability to differentiate between whether that AI is sentient in some way, right? Whether it has a conscious, because it can emulate it so well. And so I think it'll be really interesting. I think a lot of people will have to become prompt engineers. So instead of being like a graphic designer, you'll be creating prompts for some type of AI, and then maybe you touch up the design at the end, right? And so that'll be a lot of same for like when people think about like lawyers might have to change what they do. I still think there's like a strategic argument that lawyers do, and there's relationships as far as in the courtroom that lawyers have that Chat GPT doesn't have. Yeah. And so there'll still be human aspects that keep it going, but it'll definitely be interesting to see. And I still think that because all of the AI runs on data. And so if we as humans stop producing data specifically around like creative language and things like that, then we'll hit a limit where everything feels like the same. And so it has to be a balance of us still inputting our creativity and then using AI to get things done faster, to give us more time. My dream scenario would be that it's like now the workday is only 9 to 3 because AI has made our jobs faster, but our pay rate has stayed the same. I'm sure it won't be like that, but that would be ideal. So yeah, it's definitely interesting and scary at the same time.
It is. It's super. And another thing that I think is gonna get affected more is our education system. It's gonna completely refine the education system. It's going to completely, what we learn in school is going to change a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to change a lot. I mean, it's the unknown. There's always that fear of the unknown, that sometimes we can let it hold us back. Sometimes we could be like, hey, I got something too for AI.
Yeah.
AI might need some of this data that I'm creating. Maybe AI can take this that I've started, and this is where I got it.
Yeah.
And we can apply AI to this and magnify it and turn it into something bigger than, you know what I mean? Bigger than we ever thought.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just those things. It's still new, it's still unknown, but are we gonna be scared of it to the point where we're not doing anything, just worried about AI?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's interesting too, because education, I feel like, is something that's probably needed to change a little bit for a while.
Anyway.
Where there's more application, because like I learned so much math in school and in college, and I never learned how to do my taxes, right?
Yeah.
Which as a business owner, I had to learn because I didn't necessarily want to pay someone to do that for me when budgets are tight, right? And so it's like, I think things are tending more towards how can we get the kids involved and how can it be more applicable? And so if you move away from more of the traditional education, then I think it opens up an opportunity to incorporate AI and
Mm-hmm.
keep some of that life learning that we really cut out in our education system.
It's insane like that. Something like taxes, we don't even learn it.
Yeah. No.
But as soon as we start earning, we not even before as soon as we are able to buy anything, we're paying taxes.
Yeah.
I could give my 2-year-old $5 and walk her to a counter.
Yeah.
When she goes to pay for whatever she buys,
Yeah.
she's gonna pay taxes. But this is something that nobody gets taught how to do this. Because teaching everybody how to do taxes means the guy who's a tax expert, he's jobless now.
Yeah.
So that avenue is there for someone to actually learn it on a professional scale.
But it's crazy because you can go to jail if you don't do your
Yeah,
taxes right. So
yeah.
the stakes are so high to not teach people
You know
how to do it.
taxes, yeah. And
Uh,
it's crazy. I could actually people, celebrities and famous people go to jail for not doing taxes when they already hired an accountant who is responsible for these things, and the accountant don't go to jail.
right.
You owed us the money. You did not pay. You don't go into jail. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. So hopefully ChatGPT comes and forces the status quo to change those things, and hopefully I'm yawning. Hopefully, sorry. Hopefully ChatGPT comes and changes the status quo and things are completely different from there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can sit here. We can sit here the whole night and just keep talking and just listening to you speak. Oh, you're so smart. God, you're so smart. Wow. You are very smart and very direct. You have, I think, your journey, right? Your journey has allowed you to just narrow everything down. Yeah, I think in your healing journey, you're able to narrow everything down to be, what's the word I'm looking for? To be precise, not out of style, but just out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is what is here. Let me stick to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is what works. Let me stick to this and make this work.
Yeah.
And even in your language, it shows. You know exactly what's the best word to use in this context. What's the best description to use in this context? Dang, it's beautiful to watch.
Thank you.
It's beautiful to watch. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's not how it is in my head, I will say, but I think there is a filtering that happens for me. Not like a masking filtering, just like how can I communicate best? But it is a little chaotic up there.
Yeah, there's beauty in chaos. There is so much beauty in chaos. If I'm having an interview, right, and the night before it's not chaotic mentally, it's not. Usually when I come here, and if I'm calm the night before the interview and everything's collected, best believe when I go home and watch the interview, while I'm trying to put the files together, chances are I'm like, man, I wish I could redo this thing.
Yeah.
Because my mind did not run around everywhere searching for what direction do I want this to go.
Yeah.
You see my point? So, but if I'm like, oh, I have an interview tomorrow and I'm just calm, collected, sleepy, I just knew in the back of my mind that, well, yeah, we're about to mess this interview up. But if my mind is just, I miss the chaos, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna find something.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's sleepless nights. Sometimes like, wow, I just want to sleep, and my mind just goes Usain Bolt, just running everywhere. What can I ask? What can I do this? What can I look at? What can I look up? Why are you even doing that? You should be up googling stuff right now.
Yeah.
You should be up asking people about this person. You should be up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
But
interesting because now that you say it, it's like I have days where my mind feels really calm.
yeah,
And then I'm like, why did I say it like that? Like,
yeah,
it's like there was nothing, there was no substance.
yeah,
And yeah.
yeah, yeah. That the substance is not even all the way there like you would expected it, and you're like, nah, that's I could have done better. But in the midst of all the chaos, right, there's calm, and if
Mm-hmm.
you are able to tap into that calm after the chaos, it's just like a beautiful evening when the sun is setting. It's like everything just looks still. It don't matter what is going on. It could be on a highway. It could be if the sun is setting and
Yeah.
the little orange clouds are little orange. If you pay attention to that, everything seems still, but it's so much going on.
Yeah.
It could be on a highway and there's a line of cars, but if you look at that picture, every time you look at it, everything just seems like it's just still.
Yeah.
But underneath that orange, between the way it starts to get dark and the orange, so much going on.
Yeah.
So many different energies, so many different energies going on, so many different physical things are happening at the same time as well. But that time of the evening just feels calm. But the
Yeah.
sun is also setting. After all the long journey of the sun, is just setting. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the best part of the day when you see it. You're like, oh, that's so beautiful. And people pull their phones out
Yeah.
and fall for the calm. You take a picture and you post it. But what is actually going on around that time is not calm. People are rushing home.
Yeah.
Those who left in the morning trying to go home. Those who are late nighters
Or trying to go to work.
are
Yeah.
trying to go to work. So it's a lot of transaction going on, but everything else just looks still and calm.
Yeah.
That's just life.
Mm-hmm.
That's just life. I can sit here, man. I can sit here, talk to you the whole time. Thank you, Cody, though, for saying, hey, you should interview Gwen.
Yeah.
Now he's next. So when you go home today, drag him up here. I think his is gonna be more like a therapy session for me. And I can wait. I'm excited. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. Damn, I'm happy. I'm happy. I've been in a happy place. I've been in a happy place. I'm happy. I'm happy. It
Yeah.
used to be hard for me to say. But now I can actually say, man, I'm happy.
Yeah. I'm happy as well. This has been great. I'm glad that we talked so much before and it's
Yeah.
easy to open up to
Yeah.
you and it's
Yeah.
safe and
Yeah.
you know so much too.
Yeah.
And so this has been wonderful.
Yeah. It's when I'm setting up and someone is here and we're talking, usually it's not the most professional. Where you expect it to be when you come in everything, but it's also intimidating.
Yeah.
When people walk in and it's 3 cameras, it's lights, it's already intimidating.
Yeah.
But when they see through the process of me setting it up, putting it together, it comes to birth right in their presence.
Yeah.
And they look at it, they're looking at it. And then we break the ice, but because we're talking, we're having the conversation, it breaks the ice. Then we get into proper conversation. And it's like, okay, I'm comfortable. I can be comfortable around this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can be comfortable around this person. And the energies are down, and then we exchange the energies and everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I should be thanking you. I should be thanking you. This is beautiful. And please don't ever dim your light. Don't ever dim your light. You have a lot to offer. You know, you are just me sitting here. Trust me, it will all make sense. And you finish asking all your questions. And I was like, wow. This is like it's like a job interview. And then at the end of it, like, oh, this is why she's asking all these questions. Somebody somewhere need the experience that I have today.
Yeah.
So don't you ever compromise that for nothing. You'll stop.
Thank you.
you know these things. I don't really have to tell you this. You know what I mean? You know these things. Keep keep shining.
Thank you.
Keep shining. You're welcome. I should be thanking you for all the enlightenment I had today, you know. And this part of the interview, I'm not gonna keep it in there. It's
Yeah.
just me just letting you know how appreciative I am of this experience.
Yeah. No, me too. You do a really great job of creating like flow, like
Yeah.
creating an environment where people can flow.
Mhm.
And I think you do a really good job of, like you mentioned, you know, sometimes people give you your light and then that helps your soul. Like I
Yeah.
think you do that, and that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I read. I read. If I never, I think I would still be lost without me picking up a book.
yeah.
I went to a phase of just self-help book. Read, 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 read. But now I find myself to the point where I can't even pick a book. I'll order a book and read like first 2 chapters, and I put it down, and it ends up in the bookshelf, and I didn't read it, and somebody else says something about a book, and I run and grab that book and read first 2 chapters, and I can't finish it. So I need to get back to the
Yeah.
discipline of reading.
Yeah. Because I think reading does a good job of helping direct your thinking so that you can adjust some of the thinking that was developed, you know, in those traumas or in those hardships, to help you make sense of all of it.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does. It's just like reading is like the enlightenment, right? And I mean that in a very physical sense. It's like if we turn all these lights in this room on, right? It's so bright in here, right? It's not gonna shape anything, right? It's just so damn bright. Your eyes start getting blurry.
Yeah.
And you can't really make sense of nothing, right? But if you turn all these lights off and you just turn one light on, it's gonna direct you to where the source of light is coming, right?
Yeah.
That's what reading does. Amongst all the darkness, that everything that's in your head that you don't really know how to piece apart, and you pick up a book in a particular subject matter and you're reading it, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been dealing with. You know what I mean? Reading is like also it's almost like watching somebody break down trauma, and you're sitting and listening to it, and you're like, whoa, 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 hold on, hold on. What is that again? You have to sometimes you literally will stop the video and rewind.
Yeah.
And play it again just to make sure you heard it the first time. That's reading. That's what reading does. Like reading is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's a good analogy for what it does.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's just super beautiful. I'll go home to that beautiful.
Yeah.
I know that's a higher purpose of me. Just starting this, then
Yeah.
I know I don't know where it's gonna guide me. Where it's taking me, I have no idea. But I'm ready for a ride. Let's ride.
Yeah.
I'm ready for a ride.
And I would love to support you doing this as much as I can.
Please.
I can send you some tools and
Please do.
some like, I don't know, strategy suggestions,
Yes,
and then
please do. Whatever you send me, I'll put to use.
okay.
I'm like a sponge. That's why I try to come to Keystone.
Yeah.
Because it's so much creative energy around, right? If you go to Keystone every day, you meet somebody and you say hi. What do you do? That's the first question they ask. Oh, you do this? Oh, I do this, do this, do this. And you're like, how come I never knew about this thing?
Yeah.
Somebody in there does something. It's a lot of creative. Every time I go there and on my drive home, I'm like, okay, I have been thinking about this idea for a really long time. I think it's time to tap into it. I think it's time to finish writing this film that I've been writing.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. Kevin would be happy to hear that
Yeah.
about Keystone.
Yeah, I love going there. When there's no way you go there and leave without just being motivated
Yeah.
to do more, to tap more into not only your creative self, but just to be a better version of yourself. Because you're gonna meet someone in there who's been through more than you've been through. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? No disrespect to Cody, right? No disrespect to him, or no disrespect to you in no shape or form, right? You walk in there, you see beautiful woman like you there, right? And never in your wildest dream you're gonna be like, oh, she's blonde, she's in shape, she's beautiful, pretty smile. Never would you walk in there and look at you and be like, she went through this. Never in your wildest dream, right?
Yeah.
But you get to have a conversation, and then one layer is peeled up, and another layer, another chapter. And you're sitting back, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have your aha moment, like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And you're still able to be this after going through all this storm, and you still put together, you're still this strong, you're still in shape, you still look beautiful, and you're like, God damn, human beings, our strength is immeasurable. There's no way we can measure our strength.
Yeah.
You see my point? And you're just like, oh wow. And I'm sitting here with my little problem, complaining? Really?
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the beauty of being in spaces like that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you a lot. And any information you send me, just believe it's not just gonna be something that I receive now. Because I want to grow this. I want to be able for this to do more for me. I just want to travel the world.
Yeah.
And actually, this is my first time. I'm gonna travel to Atlanta next week on the 19th.
Okay.
I'm gonna go do some interviews there. I want to go to Belgium. I have some people in Belgium that I want to interview. I want to go to Italy. It's a bunch of young Africans who travel to Europe through the Mediterranean Sea, through the desert. Their journey is something that someone needs to go through.
Yeah.
So I want to go to all these places, but one, I can't afford it. Even if I can take money out of me and my wife's savings and go, I'm taking money out. Some money has to come in. And I have a job. You can't just be like, hey, I need 2 months off. I need to travel the world.
Right. Yeah. It would be so nice to meet good.
And you come back and somebody's sitting in your desk.
Yeah.
Like, who's this? Oh, this is the new guy.
Yeah.
Hence, you don't know how to come back to work. We found somebody for you. I'm grateful. I'm just gonna keep saying I'm grateful. Thank you.
Yeah.